believe it.
I'm an 8:30 guy.
Man. That's why I'm getting text messages at 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, what is this about?
Yeah, it's like it's a disease now. I get up way too early and go to bed way too early. So
oh man, I don't want to get real old.
I know the gray doesn't go away.
Hey, I won't even get to experience the gray. Maybe here I will, but
You're gonna get it here.
Yeah.
I got it there.
All right. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Toolkit Season 3, Episode number 8. Right? Number 8?
Number 8.
Okay, got it.
Cam Neely. Who's the best number 8?
Cam Neely. There you go.
Isn't Cam McCarty?
Well, yeah, but yeah, he might be. You know what? I am so out of the loop with the kids and their numbers these days and the players. I
still reference like guys from the 80s and 90s.
That's all I do. Yeah. You give me numbers from back then. Well, except for when you asked me about Roenick quite a few episodes back, and I dropped the ball on that one. Yeah. So I'm Trevor DiCarlo, and my co-host is
Andrew Trimble.
Yeah, there we go. So, Coach, it's been a while. How you been?
Been good. You know, we've gotten through our first ever. I can't say gotten through because we've had a lot of fun this year. We're now at the more or less the completion of our youth season. So now it's just focusing on the junior hockey teams as they move into the playoffs here, and it's been a really great year. Really, a lot of highs, very little lows, a lot of positives. So how about yourself, Trevor?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind the last 3 weeks. My season went we've accomplished so much, and I mean it's been 2 years, but yeah, it's in the last 2 weeks we went from being ranked number 4 in state, and we actually got ourselves into the championship game this past weekend. Yeah, and then kids played great. We ended up losing 3-1, but it was an awesome experience. The whole
and that was in the final.
That was in the finals. So yeah,
wow.
It was a real crazy way to get there. We lost the first game. I had 10-year-olds playing at their start time was 9:30 on a Thursday night. The game ahead of us did go into overtime, but it was like 5 minutes in and then it was over. So it was a mess. I wasn't leaving the rink until like 11:15. So lost that first game. Then we beat the first place team in state in overtime. So we collected 2 points there. And then we had to go in with how the tiebreaker was set up. We had to go in and win in regulation because the first tiebreaker was head-to-head amongst the teams that are tied, and there would have been 3 of us tied.
And do you get like 3 points for 3 points for regulation win, 2 points for an overtime?
No, you get two for a win and just any time, and then 1 point for a tie, like losing in an overtime, and just obviously 0 points for a loss. But you get
sometimes that creates like a more difficult playoff scenario.
It was difficult. We were. Yeah. I mean, I was literally going through the tiebreakers like in every possible scenario. And I don't consider myself a genius or anything, but like I had to go through every scenario, and it came down to the fact that if we would have been losing, which we would have done anyways, but if we would have been tied with about 1:30 left in regulation, I would have had to have pulled my goalie to try and go for the win. And I'm just sitting there like I'll be honest, I was dreading it because the team we were playing, which I'll talk about later. I mean, we've been hot and cold with them, and it was such a close game, and I was dreading it going in, and I'm like, how am I going to explain to these parents? Like, I mean, I'm playing to win a championship. That's what we're here to do. But you've got families. Go ahead.
If you're right. I mean, but you know those playoff tiebreakers better than anybody. But I felt that pain too. Where like the rules, what it takes to get there, so you're going to go for it, but you're going to get second guessed because other people don't know the rules.
Well, not only that, tie in the fact that if we do get the 1 point, we still could go for the third place game.
The consolation game?
Yeah. So which they gave the third place out like banner out to. So I was just like, shit. But I was like, we're going for the championship. That's what we're here for. I bet you if I asked the kids, and I didn't, but I'm like, if I asked the kids if they wanted to play for a championship or the third place, they want to play it safe, they'd all be going, let's go championship. So anyhow, we ended up winning 4-2. One of our kids buried like he was like 3/4 of the way back from the net, so probably his own hash marks in his own D zone. Just fires a shot down, like drains it, and I was just like, "Oh man!" Like I felt so unbelievably like the weight lifted off my shoulders. It was unreal. The kids were there. We all had family there. Like my mom came out to watch, and she hasn't watched any games I've coached, and she's had a rough year with some medical stuff, so that was like she was crying, and then I'm about to cry because I'm just why are you crying like this? But yeah, so we ended up getting into the state. We ended up playing the Chicago Blues. Real cool experience. We were allowed to use the 18U locker rooms, so they were all cleaned out, so the kids got to see what it looks like, if they play all the way through. So and they're like junior style locker rooms. Like I wouldn't say pro because it's not like a huge area, but it's like got your own stalls, like all nice and neat. Coaches got. I was nice. It was nice because we got to practice there like the day before. We did like a quick walkthrough.
Very cool.
So kids got to like keep their stuff there overnight. Kids were like, "Oh, I want to, I'm going to sleep in here tonight." And we're like, "Dude, it's 8:00 in the morning right now. There's no way you're going to make it past, like nobody noticing." But they had, TVs, a nice, bathroom area. I mean, it was just really cool for the kids. And then the parents, most of the moms, a couple dads were helped out. It had like this huge balloon. I don't even know what it is. It's like a statue of just all balloons, and it was cool. And again, it's our home rink too, so that's where the game's being played. So that was not by our design. That was just by AHI chose our rink to have it there. So it was cool that our last game there was at home. We were the away team, but oh man, the stands are packed. It was awesome, and so awesome. And I think it overloaded the kids a little bit because like the first 7 minutes of the game, we were struggling. We were throwing the puck around like it was a grenade. We ended up getting scored on twice in the first like 7 minutes. But if you take that away and the kids kind of eventually settled down, it was a much better game. And again, we only lost, at that point we won the second period, and then they ended up scoring one more later on in the third. But so yeah, overall it was a fantastic experience. And I mean, state championship wise, like that's the first one I've ever coached in. I played in one when I was a freshman on the JV high school team, so it was a really cool experience. But
what did you do to rein them in? So like you get down that 2-0 early in the game, and now you guys still got a lot of road ahead of you. What did you do to rein them in?
So I mean, it was more or less I sat there and I looked down on both sides of my benches because I've got both assistants running one door. I got one assistant running one door, one assistant on the other, and I'm in the middle, just kind of so I can survey the whole game, but also pull kids to the side, and if somebody gets injured or whatever, I basically, take a, check on them and stuff. But, I mean, I was looking around and I'm just kind of getting the feeling like, okay, if this gets a little bit more haywire, I'm calling a timeout just to settle them down. But I just kept telling them like, it's like, hey guys, it's just another hockey game. We're here to have fun. We're here to work hard and do our best. It's just another hockey game. It's just another hockey game. Which for me, yeah, it is. Like, I mean, it is just another hockey game. Obviously, it's just a much more amped up version, but they slowly started to figure it out. And then once they kind of put like it took one or two players to really show everybody else. And again, we talk, took a couple, and again, we're talking about 10-year-olds, but a couple kids to act like leaders out there and to start just, okay, I need to settle down and start doing the little things. And the team started just to playing like, oh, okay, to the point where we were all over them at one point. The Blues, like we were all over them, and they were just like firing the puck out of the zone. Like it was as if, I mean, they didn't care if they took an icing. They just wanted to get the puck out. So, I mean, it took that little bit of leadership, a little bit of, from the kids themselves. And then they all started to kind of come back into it. And we had, again, it was a great game. We had our opportunities. It wasn't like we were screwed out of anything. We didn't bury our chances. We had them. So, I mean, that's half the battle, right? If you're not getting them, then there's a problem. And we were getting them. We just weren't able to convert on them. But, yeah, I mean, that was the message. It was, I'm sure the message would have been a lot different if I would have had to pull a timeout right there. But, yeah, no, I mean, it was fun. It was an awesome experience with the kids. And it was unfortunately, it was my last game coaching not only that age group who I've had the last 2 years, but also like my last time coaching with the club in general. So it was a bittersweet way to go out. But I wouldn't have traded. I mean, first place, sure, but I wouldn't have traded the experience for anything.
Yeah, to be the underdog and come through like that and have such a good run. Those kids are going to remember that for a long, long time, maybe forever. That'll be part of their impactful hockey experience, And sometimes it just takes. I was wondering, if you called the timeout, or maybe like you took a penalty and then you had to kill, and sometimes you get some energy off the kill when you do successfully.
No, that was one thing the refs didn't want to do is call penalties, which again they did a good job. I'll give them credit. They did a great job. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of spots where on both sides I was like, "Ooh, we got away with one," or "Oh, they got away with one." And
yeah, sometimes you just gotta let them play.
Yeah, I mean,
just call the scoring chances if it negates a scoring chance, but there's going to be.
We had one where a player definitely got. They had a breakaway, and the kid kind of caught up to him and got him right in the hands. And I was just like, and I'm looking at both refs, and they're keeping their hands down. And I was just like, okay, I guess we're playing prison rules now.
Wheels are off.
Right.
But you got to roll with it sometimes because the kids really will look to you. Like if you're exploding on the bench when you're not getting those calls, the kids come unraveled.
Oh yeah.
So like if you just kind of compose, hey, we'll get the next one. Let's go here, guys. We're gonna get our time. They can kind of like just kind of steadfast prod ahead and get it done. So that's kudos to you, Coach. Great job.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks. How's your season's been going?
Good. Our 10s were on a similar run. We were 5th. We ended up making the semifinals. We lost in the semifinals in a good game. We won. We knocked off the 2nd seed, and we knocked off the 4th seed. It was a good little playoff run. We didn't make it, but the team's really young. It's mostly, it's squirt, so it's most of the kids in that division were 2014s. We only had like 2 2014s. There were 2015s, and we had a bunch of 2016s. So we should be really strong next year, and that'll be a lot of fun. And then our junior team just finished up our showcase down in Philly, and we had a nice playoff or a pre-playoff showcase, and now we're getting ready for playoffs. So. It's that time of the year where we're still playing hockey, but it's meaningful hockey and it's fun and exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Do you ever feel like it's kind of like the season might go on like an extra month too long? Like maybe, and this is like maybe just you start to kind of get a little burnt out towards the end just because it's like it's been going on for so long and it's like, okay, like you're trying to get to the finish line, but like you don't want to get to the finish line. And I don't know, like for myself, this is the longest season I've had in probably ever because we just literally finished 4 nights ago. Usually my season's over in the middle of February. And I at no point wanted the season to end, but it was getting like kind of almost a chore to have to drive to the rink. Now, when I get to the rink, it's no big deal, but
yeah. I do agree with you in some respects. I mean, we're at a point, they introduced that parity, which I think we've talked about in a previous episode in the state of New Hampshire. And they introduced that, and they put it in the 2nd week in September. And really, our budgeting began on a template where our season started like in the last week in September. So we bought a whole month of ice to accommodate this parity tournament, and that really elongated the season, which had me nervous about burnout. But we gave him time off at Christmas. We kind of orchestrated the schedule where we had, a tournament here, a tournament there to make it kind of like a break from the normal kind of grind.
Yeah.
And when kids got to the playoffs, they were really excited. With the junior stuff, normally our junior season would end with like the first week in April, but we'd have a month more of playoffs here if we make the finals, which is the goal. So I gave him actually our kids after this last showcase, I gave them 2 days off. It's the first time we've had 2 days off in a row all year.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, but I think that's the right move. I mean, we did it
Oh, for
last
sure.
year. Last year, but going into the playoffs, I gave them 2 days off to completely decompress, rest after the showcase, and it worked well for. We made the finals last year. So I'm gonna kind of go with that again this year. That's kind of like kids need a break sometimes.
Yeah.
Coaches need a break. Parents need a break.
For sure.
So,
everybody needs a break.
Everybody needs a break.
Yeah. That's just one of those things that I know that I've talked with, like, my uncle and other coaches. And, that was one thing he always used to say was, the season always goes just like 1 month like longer than it needs to. And for a while I was like, oh no. But now I guess when I've been in it where it's gone that longer, that month, I'm just like, it's like you're trying to get to the finish line. And again, I didn't want to, like, I'm not trying to make it sound like, hey, Coach Trevor doesn't want to be here or anything like that. But it's just like, at a certain point, well, we're always teaching and kids are always learning. At a certain point, like, I don't know, the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, really, how much more can I teach the players? Because I can't really introduce too much new stuff because then it might, there's no completion to it. And really, what am I going to be teaching? I mean, so it's one of those things where it's like you're just kind of, going through, not going through the motions, but you're working on things that the team needs to work on and continue to work on. But we're not really like, we're no longer like, okay, now we're building upon this. Like we've stopped that building because we know that we're kind of coming to the end here, and we need to just refine and go back and fix the areas that we're still struggling with.
Yeah, you want to be peaking towards the playoffs, not like kids are rolling like, oh, I got another hockey game today. Like that's the last thing you want. And sometimes if you had a ton of success, like if your team was like rolled through the whole year, I think that's oftentimes why you see those teams. They could be the first seed and they get bounced in the first round because they've had like too much repetition. It's been like just constant, and the talent at a certain point starts to not have success because other teams are a little bit their talent has caught up and they're starting to peak in terms of their competitiveness. So it just has a reverse effect. So it's tough sometimes to manage that. But I think breaks are good. I think managing that schedule, like where you introduce different things, like have a fun day and have a day that's just completely different. So they're excited to come to the rink all the time because they don't know what to expect. Makes a big difference.
Right. Well, I mean, speaking of breaks, we did write an article and we talked about it, and we never really actually got to finish talking about it because we've taken our own break a little bit, just because we've both been busy. The NHL, the Four Nations Cup, the champ, whatever it was called, Four Nations, whatever. At this point, what were your thoughts, Coach? I mean, would you like it? Did you not like it? Was it?
I thought it was spectacular. I mean, I thought. You're going in, it's basically an all-star game, right? Like the players could have approached it with an all-star game mentality. It just was a week-long all-star event.
Right.
But instead, they put their work boots on, and those guys were getting after it. And it was an incredible event, I thought.
I had a good time watching it. I mean, definitely. Unfortunately, this is where I was on the ice for both USA Canada games, at least the start of it. I was able to catch the third of in the overtime of the second game, but the first one, I mean, I'm just seeing the parents going wild up in the little like restaurant bar area they got at the rink, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I find out Kachuk just fought.
Yeah.
JT Miller just fought. I'm like, what is going on? I thought this was supposed to be a friendly.
I know.
But I mean, overall, just the talent in those games. I mean, obviously it's best on best, like the cream of the crop. But I really, and I totally not to get into any of the politics of anything, because obviously there's reasons behind it. But I definitely would have loved to have seen like what Russia would be able to do like right now. I mean, just looking at what their roster could have been, and then if you wanted to throw in like a Czechia / Slovakia, I know that's probably would be frowned upon because they don't, they already got away from each other. They don't want to go back towards each other, or maybe like an all world team or something. I don't know. I think that would have been pretty cool to see too. But overall, I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it really positions everything for a really exciting Olympic next year. I mean,
God.
although you had that highly competitive Four Nations tournament, you still left out Ovechkin, you still left out Draisaitl, you still left out Hischier, you still left out. I'm going to miss a bunch, but like some of literally the top 15, 20 best players in the world, there's a good handful which didn't actually participate in the tournament, which says like, wow, what could it be when you have everybody included?
Absolutely. It'll be hopefully next year with the Olympics. It'll be I'm looking forward to it. Let's just put it that way. I'm looking forward to it because a tournament like this I think it's cool. I think it's much more cool than the actual NHL All-Star game. That being said, like the Olympics, I think it's going to be taken up another notch. You're not going to probably have the fights because I know like those are international rules, but
Yeah.
and you might still have some scrums and such. But I think just the intensity of those games and because now you're playing for like a medal, like it's not, and kudos to all the players in that. It was fun watching. And the NHL, I think, made a good move there.
Absolutely. I mean, actually, and not to discredit some of the stuff, but watching the last two like skills challenges, like whatever it was, they did that one on the beach in Florida, and they're doing like a dunk tank, and it was like this is kind of lame. Like we need to mix it up, and they didn't just kind of run out the same nonsense. They said, hey, we got to change this. They changed it, and they elevated the whole game.
No, I'd be okay if they decided to do 1 year NHL All-Star game, but it's roller hockey, beach roller hockey, and they play with the old rules and with the ramp on the both back ends, and the circle where you could score a 2-pointer from. I'd be okay with that for 1 year. I'd be like, okay, let's give that a go. But outside of that, yeah, I remember sitting there watching that, going, what is this? This isn't our game. This isn't what our game's about. It's like.
Do you remember watching some of I remember watching indoor roller hockey. I never watched the outdoor beach roller hockey. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, the one that used to be on ESPN2 or whatever. Yeah,
the Ocho.
The Ocho, yes. No, because me and my buddies, it'd be in the summer, so we'd go outside and we'd go in the cul-de-sac and we'd go and play. Like that was like my one way of getting my buddies that lived in the neighborhood to actually play hockey was because we'd be seeing that and like, oh, that's so cool. And then we'd go out and like try and they'd play it. So like I was like the only way I could get them to throw their skates on and take a stick.
I remember in high school, I went to a couple New Jersey Rock and Rollers games. Do you remember those? Like this is the indoor roller hockey. It was our Roller Hockey International. They called it RHI, and it was fun. It was like there was no blue line, so it was just the red line. So once you got possession, it was an offside, but it was just like half the ice. Once you got possession of the zone, you could maintain possession. Right. And it was pretty cool, but it didn't. I think it was only 2 years in that league or 3 years. Like that.
It was very quickly went defunct. It did not last that long, which is okay.
Well, they were playing in such big buildings. It was playing the Devil's Rink, and I was like looking around like I was one of 50 people there.
That is true. I forgot I think they played it. I forgot where in the city they played because they had the Chicago Cougars. That's what they were, I believe. And I forgot where they played out of, but it was somewhere like I remember asking, like, really? They played out of there? Like
I know. They played big buildings.
Yeah, I was like, not a high school or a college like gymnasium or something, just out of the United Center, which it wasn't, but yeah. So
trade deadline. What do you got? Who's the winner? Who's the loser?
I mean, Florida really well. Florida, in hindsight, they got very lucky with the move they made with getting Seth Jones, especially with Aaron Ekblad out. Though part of me feels like they kind of knew that they might be losing Ekblad, so it was a kind of like all right. Because at first, I was like, really? We were able to get up Seth Jones and get this return, and it's pretty solid. And I feel like we actually won the trade instead of like saying, okay, both teams got something out of it. But now in hindsight, I could see like, okay, maybe Bill Zito knew that it was going to happen. So I definitely say like that was shocking though. I was not expecting Jones to get traded. I didn't think they would be able to get his contract off the books. But happy to do so. If he doesn't want to be here, he doesn't want to be here. Seeing Marchand get traded though to the Panthers as well. I mean, I never would have expected that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, you've already lost Bergeron. You've lost Krejci. You've lost Char over the year. I mean, you've lost so many of your core, but
Tuukka Rask, Tim Thomas.
Rask, right? Like you're losing. He's like one of those last pieces that's left, and he's still one of the best left wingers in the league.
Yeah.
And when he's playing left wing, what that, but like I was surprised that one shocked me. That said, I mean some of the other ones, like I'm trying to think here. What's their faces adding? Was it Edmonton? Who did they add? I forgot. Want to say who was it? Cousins? Did they add Cousins or no?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
they added
Somebody
Trent.
added Cousins. Cousins got traded.
Cousins got traded.
Did he go to Ottawa?
Yeah, that's who it was because he was traded for Norris, I believe.
Yes.
Trent Frederick went to Edmonton. I mean, there was some splashes. I think really though, like the biggest ones, and then Rantanen getting traded over to, the Dallas after getting traded to Carolina, like. That was wild. I'm sure your Devils wish they would have picked up a center along the way now, but like as soon as that happened, I saw Hughes go down. I was like, oh, that could not have been the worst timing. Like anytime that happens, but especially after the trade deadline, like what do you do now? He's there for the season.
I know. Before we get to the Devils, I mean, I definitely think for the first time in a long time, the Western Conference has the bulk of the good teams. Like,
yeah,
I've always been like, like we went through most of 2010 to 2020. It was like the Eastern Conference had so many good teams: Pittsburgh, Boston.
Yeah.
The Rangers were always. They went to a couple conference finals and NHL final. Like they had some really, really good teams. Washington, and now it's like you have Edmonton, you have Winnipeg, you have Dallas is really good. Like and you still have Vegas in the mix. You still have like some really good teams out west that like gets to the conference final. It's a crapshoot who's going to win that.
We should give it up though to Mark Stone for finally staying completely healthy all the way through and past the trade deadline, so the team didn't have to use his cap space that they suddenly get open when he's quote unquote injured.
LTRI, that's for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't use that this year, but no, I don't disagree with you. I think it's definitely the West is pretty heavy. I mean, you don't have the Penguins anymore. I mean, I think the Hurricanes. I think they kind of hurt themselves losing Rantanen. To be quite honest with you, the Avalanche.
Avalanche too, right there.
I mean, there's so many good teams there. You stay out of the Kings. I mean, they could even be a dark horse. I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, the West, I would agree, is pretty loaded. And again, you can never count out. You got Edmonton there. Who do you think they go back again?
I don't know. I mean, I like Dallas a lot. Winnipeg has been phenomenal all year, and they got great goaltending. But then Edmonton's got to be in the mix, and if McDavid plays like he did last year, anything can happen. The Eastern Conference, I think, is Florida's to lose. Florida is just so good, and they won last year, and I think they might have got better.
I agree. Yeah,
sure. it's the Eastern Conference is for them to lose. Devils, all season they've been in the mix, but losing Hamilton now, Siegenthaler is solid. For them losing Jack Hughes, that's tough. They had a really good game. They're on a 2-game win streak, and I thought they played pretty inspired, like played really hard. But I think they'll get in, but I don't know. I don't know what it looks like without your top center, And I like the trade Cody Glass. He's got I think as a bottom 6 role. Sometimes you take like a high pick and you put him in the wrong spot, and there's too many expectations. But then when he gets traded a time or two, he can find a role, and he doesn't have the same expectations. And I think Cody Glass can be a quality player for the Devils in the next time frame, like next couple of years. But we'll see.
he's always had that potential. I mean, I remember seeing him come out when he had just finished his junior career and he was playing in the spring for the Chicago Wolves, and he looked pretty good. And um, it's you always wonder like what is it about those kind of guys that just, as you said, sometimes they're just not in the right fit. They're not in the right
Yeah.
spot, whether that's team wise or even you know place on the depth chart, and that's what makes the whole like people say, "Oh, drafting's a crapshoot." Well, yeah, kind of isn't. I mean, there's a science behind it, but um, yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's it'll be interesting to see what happens, and
Yeah.
I'm just actually right now I'm just trying to pull up and see if we missed any other really big trades besides those. I mean, it's the Hawks getting, the Hawks are the Hawks. Johnson. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Eric Johnson's back to that Jack Johnson I was thinking of actually went to the Avalanche, but that's not him. It was Eric Johnson. So Eric Johnson's back with the Avalanche. That's a huge swing for them.
Avalanche are still like I rattled off a bunch of teams, but they're still in the mix. When you got all that talent, and you've only 2 years removed from a cup, like they're right in the mix too.
Oh yeah, and again, it was Brock Nelson was the one that went to the
Brock
Avalanche.
Nelson, that's a huge move.
And I didn't even think, I'll be quite honest with you. Like, I didn't think Brock Nelson was still that great of like, the player that he is. Like when I saw that he was on, the Team USA, I'm thinking, oh man, old man Nelson. And I say, oh man, he's 2 years younger than me, which makes me feel like an old man now on its own too. But like, he's still playing really good, and I'm just like, wow, I guess he's just one of those like really like unheralded players that you don't hear his name too often.
No, that's kind of like the MO of an Islanders player. Like,
That's true.
you know what I mean? Like, if a guy's a good player, it's about the team more than a Lamoriello team. Like he's a very good player. And I remember, like he's a Minnesota high school hockey player drafted in the first round in the NHL draft. Like,
Yep.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. But speaking of, we've talked about high school, we talked about juniors, we talked about pros, but we haven't really talked too much about college, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, because with all the hockey we've been watching, I haven't watched too much college hockey.
No, but our guest that we have today definitely has. Well, he's actually been playing in it
for sure, and that's a great segue, Trevor. We have on with us today Jack Johansen. Jack won a championship in juniors with the New England Wolves, and then now he's finishing up a stellar 4-year career at Fitchburg State, where they recently won the MASCAC championship, and they'll be playing in the NCAA tournament coming up this upcoming week. Jack is a fantastic young man with a lot of potential, and he's been a captain on both those championship squads. So he's going to give a lot of insight into what championship caliber teams look like both on and off the ice. All right, hockey fans, we have with us now Jack Johansen, captain of the Fitchburg State Falcons and a recent MASCAC champion. They won last week over MCLA, which is a big surprise team there, Jack. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it was, they definitely went on a big run there, defeating Plymouth and then Anna Maria, who were 1-2 in our conference. So they went on a big run. It wasn't an easy game. It was definitely a challenge.
And Jack also won a championship in junior hockey, and we're just going to get his thoughts and reflections on what he's seen from championship teams and what it takes to have a team go from being a good team to being a championship level team. So thanks for joining us, Jack.
No problem.
All right, my first question for you is, you've been a championship team in junior, and now you've been a championship team in college. What are some ingredients in that room that you've seen come together over those championship seasons?
So thinking back to when I played for you 6 years ago now, big thing back then was just the fact that we were at the rink every day, all day. It was just such a challenge, but at the same time, we all just wanted to get better and achieve that ultimate goal. So you make these goals in your mind, and completing them are two different things. And this year we had it was one of the most interesting years of hockey I've ever had. we had games canceled after 2 periods, a 3 overtime game, just interesting year. So it's a lot different from when we went with the Wolves. But in the same case, it was that ultimate challenge, climb that mountain. I remember with the HLP team, we were underdogs. The first round, I think we beat the Chiefs, and the next round we were underdogs versus the Boston Junior Rangers, and it was like a rally together. That's something that definitely has to happen on a team, is everyone has to come together to reach the goal. And that happened obviously with the Wolves. It was a great experience. We all came together. We had a good leadership group. My assistant captains were great. Made my job pretty easy as captain, just be able to play. And then in college, it's a little different because for me, it's been 4 years. It was my senior year, so it's something we've tried to achieve for all of my 4 years now. And the senior class finally did it, and just some of the guys that weren't leaders in the senior class became leaders, which was just amazing. Another one of the kids I'll mention, Toivo Kramer, product of the EHL. Not really a leader in the locker room, not really a voice, but someone who really came out and showed everyone that he wanted to win, when we had an opportunity to do so, and it just came together that we were able to do it.
That's awesome, Jack. I was talking actually, Coach Kuhns, last week. We had announced some like awards for our youth program, and Zach Spikuza, who probably was a U14 when you were here, we named an award after him for like most improved, and we're kind of just rattling off in our brain and guys who've improved in the program, and so often you pick like the weakest player, and if they show marginal improvement and become competitive with their teammates, you're like, oh, that kid, you got to give it to that kid. But there's also a lot of good players who become exceptional players in their time. And sometimes they get underlooked for those most improved type awards. And I always, Tim and I always go back and forth. And I say Jack Johansen, when he came here, obviously he was a good player, but he's coming from high school hockey. So he was there was a lot to learn, I think, like a lot of the gameplay stuff. But like by the end of 1 month, you were getting games with the EHL. And, if the EHL hadn't if they had made the playoffs that year, you might not have been with the P team. So, but you improved. You were a leader, but you were a humble leader, but you always kind of led with that example of kind of getting on the ice, working hard, and setting the standard. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you have a good team around you, it just makes it that much easier, right? So it's one thing to go out and prove it, but it's nothing to show it, just working hard. I've never been the most skilled or the best at anything, but I just try and work my butt off for my teammates. It's not something I want to gloat or be an egomaniac about. It's just I don't want to have to tear your ass apart, right? Or sorry, your butt apart.
Yeah, you can curse. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I just want to be there for you and just work my butt off, and for you to do the same. And that's something I led with, I think, with the Wolves. And then also here, my co-captain Oliver Cookson is just an animal. It's just something you try to lead with, is just show off that you are working your butt off, and the guys will do the same. So I think that's a big thing as being a captain, showing up every day, doing the right things, just leading as an example, not exactly on the ice, but in all areas.
That's fantastic. Trevor, what do you got for Jack?
So, Jack, what would you say that on these teams that you've won championships with, like what does that actual leadership group look like, and how does that reflect in your play?
Actual leadership look like?
Like, are you guys more of the rah-rah type of guys, or is it more of, as you said, I mean, you kind of already answered it, but was it a lot of just going out and leading by example?
It more of is just open to do all, kill a penalty, get a puck deep when you really needed to get that line change, or score a goal on a power play or something like that. Help out, take a hit to make a play. It's just little things like that. I think that a leader should have. And it's definitely something I think gets a team going. I'm not a big rah-rah person. I never have been. More of a quiet leader, I guess you could say. I'll tear you apart when I need to tear you apart, just if I see something there that I don't like. But at the same time, it's more of just doing the right things at the right time for your teammates.
And And what are the championship teams that you've been on? What do they have in common that are between those two? Or I believe it's two. So what's been the common denominators?
I think honestly, competitiveness in practice and weight room. Honestly, because my year with the Wolves with Coach Trimble in the weight room every day. Even if we weren't lifting, we were doing yoga with I forget her name.
She's still here.
I forgot her name.
Angela.
She was awesome. Yeah, Angela. She was awesome. Even just doing stuff like that, and then competitive on ice and practice every day. Whether it's a 2-on-1, 1-on-1 drill or a flow drill, it's just going not exactly as hard as you can, but just being competitive. I think that's the biggest deal with this team. And then with the Wolves team, I vividly remember like 3-on-3 at the end of the practice was always something that was just so much fun because it was so competitive. Everyone was just almost at each other's necks. But before going to playoffs here at Fitchburg, one thing I said was, at the end of the day, we're all teammates. We might hate each other in this 3-on-3, hate each other on the ice, but once we get off the ice, we're all friends, and that's also a big part too.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you try to find those commonalities between championship teams and amongst all sports and all teams alike, even in hockey. And I think you really hit the nail on the head just with the stuff that sounds like, yeah, compete. If you're not going to compete, you're not going to be very successful. And that, I'm sure there's a lot of competing off the ice too, and all the shenanigans and games you guys play.
Always.
Well, Jack, I'm super proud of where you've come, and you came from seeing I think Batesy and Tim saw you at the senior high school all-star game, and you were not even considering playing hockey, and now you've come so far, and really really proud of you, kids. So keep up with the good work. What is the next step for you?
So thank you, Coach Trimble. First of all, I remember my exit meeting with you and the conversation we had. It was tough for both of us for me when I was leaving. But next step right now, we got NCAAs this week, so we're going dancing. First time in my career, and only the second time in this program's to go to the Sweet 16 or Sweet 14, I guess you call it. We play Utica Saturday at 1:00 at Utica, so pretty cool rink. It's gonna be a pretty cool, sweet experience.
It's awesome.
That's awesome, man. Well, good luck, buddy, and go get him. I know you're going to work your bag up out there, and go Falcons.
Thanks, Coach Trimble. Have a good one. Go Wolves, baby.
Thanks, Jack.
Take it easy.
Thanks, Trevor. Nice to meet you, man.
You as well. Thanks for coming on. Trimble, you still here? Or did you leave? Did you leave? Oh, yeah.
Pounding your chest there?
No, I can see the spikes when they pop up when I'm doing it. So, okay, that's right. I'm cutting it. So, whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, thanks again, Jack, for joining us. Really great interview with Jack Johansen. Trevor, what is some of your feedback from what you heard from Jack?
Well, I mean, first of all, we're getting so much better at these segues of getting into and out of topics and conversations. But no, I mean, first of all, thanks, Jack, for coming on. I wish you best of luck. Unfortunately, when this podcast episode will come out, you will have already played. Hopefully you beat Utica. You've beaten Utica. But no, I mean, I really appreciate his candidness and his openness about, what it's like to be a leader on these teams. And, he's not a rah, as you said, he's not a rah guy. And I think leadership, there's different ways of being a leader. Typically people think of leaders as, the guys who are always chirping, who are always talking, and who are always like going a mile a minute. While there's others that, they just go out and they do their job and they do it well. And they don't make excuses, and, they're leading by example, is everyone's favorite term to use for those guys. And it seems to be like Jack Sack type of guy, which again, when you've got a whole culmination of different guys and different leaders in the locker room, I mean, you don't need a team full of those rah guys. So, I mean, I really appreciated his insight, especially how he handles that, being a leader, having been a captain, and being a captain. I mean, what did you take away from it, Coach?
Yeah, knowing Jack for a number of years now, I think you hit the nail on the head. I've often seen kids, with the teams where I pick a captain, I get players' input, and they make, they'll vote for their captains or vote for a core of leaders. But eventually, I will count the votes, and that goes a long way in terms of determining who's going to be the leading the squad. And you'll see sometimes kids when they'll get picked for a certain role, and they've been a certain way leading up into that role, and then now they get a C or an A on their shirt, and their personality changes. They'll become more rah-rah, or they'll become more like in your face. And it's always like, I need to talk to you. Like we need to have a discussion about this, because they picked you for a reason. The type of player you are, the type of kid that you are. Don't change that just because you have a letter on your shirt. They voted for that type of person to remain that type of person leading the squad. And Jack was always like that. Jack, when he was here in Laconia, was very much like lead by example. Kids gravitate to him because he's a good player and a good friendly kid who everybody gets along with. But then he brought it on the ice, and I think it's really carried through to his college career. He was a captain, at other stops along his hockey journey. So it's really worked well for him to be that type of player. And I think that's what a lot of players you see when they move further on in their careers, is that they're an example first type player.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, it's, I mean, as a coach, I typically don't do captains unless we're at the real older ages. When I first started out, I did it the younger ones, and I was just like, these kids really truly don't know what it means to be a captain as a peewee. Like and it took me a while, and so I stopped doing it definitely at that age group, and now I'm going to be coaching 2011 age group this upcoming spring, and will hopefully lead into fall. I haven't decided yet really what I'm going to do. I'm kind of leaning on this fence of, letting the kids kind of be their own leaders. I'm letting them all have a chance at being that leader. That you don't need a letter on your jersey, because it's a lot easier said than done. I think we've all been in that situation where, a guy didn't get a letter, but he's still a leader. So it's a tough. It's interesting, and I agree with you. Where sometimes you give it to that one kid, and all of a sudden, he just never shuts up, and it's like, all right, Tommy, we gotta take it down a notch here, but you're going a little crazy here, and I don't think your teammates wanted that. They wanted you, just the regular you. But and that probably is a great topic for another show. Is just leadership overall. Like how do you define it? Like how do you be the right leader in the right scenario?
Well, I think certainly kids can take a lot from the conversation with Jack, and just listening to what works for him and what's worked for him at different levels. And that brings us to, I think, a good segue here. Like, we haven't done a top 3 or top 5 list. What are your top 3 captains? It can be any sport. It doesn't have to be hockey. Top 3 captains, in your opinion, any sport.
Oh,
you want to go first? I can go first. I can rattle one off.
No. I can. I mean, top 3.
And we can go back and forth too. Like it's you go, I go.
All right. Well, I think
format.
I think we could go back. We can go one after the other, but I think we're both gonna. Let's already just knock Messier out of the way, because I mean I knew we both were gonna probably choose that one. I mean, when the guy says he's gonna win the game no matter what, and he goes out and does it, like. That's the epitome of like top 10 leaders. But I'll let you go first. While I kind of rack my brain on this a little bit. And hold on real quick. I don't know why my camera's not working anymore.
Don't worry, Trevor. It's like I've seen you enough. It's okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, there we go. I mean, if it works, great. If it doesn't, well. But yeah, you go ahead, Coach. You go first.
Okay, I'll go first one. Growing up in the New York, New Jersey area, especially in in the in the 90s. Derek Jeter, number one. Derek Jeter. The plays that you remember, the most iconic plays, are the gritty effort plays that he would make, like where he's diving into the stands on the left, the third baseline, and busting up his face for a foul ball, or that famous play he made. I think it was the '98 World Series where he throws that backhand right-handed throw into the catch to get the guy coming home. Yeah, like Derek Jeter was always kind of looked at as like this. Yeah, he's kind of like the got a male model type personality, or people think he is away from the ball field.
He did date some very high quality
models. Nothing but credit to Derek Jeter for that. But when he stepped on that field, it was all out, 100% effort, lead by example, sacrifice your body for the betterment of the team, and you can just see from their success. Derek Jeter certainly was a great captain.
So I'm gonna knock my my hockey one out, and one of my favorite ones that I've witnessed, actually been able to witness, is Jonathan Toews, and we're not ignoring what happened in the 2010s year, but I'm not. So we're not gonna just. I'm not using. We're not gonna go down that route right now. But overall, as a captain, it's basically thrusted on him as to be the leader of the team at 20 years old. And did he make mistakes during the way? Of course he did. He made mistakes. But to have all of that put on your shoulders at such a young age, and he's not the only one. I mean, you could also say Stevie Yzerman, which I hope I didn't just steal from you.
No, that's good.
I mean, Crosby's another one. Like, those are three guys that were added as captains at such a young age. So I guess we'll just say all three of them here. But really, Toews, I got to see mature, and again, someone who's the same age as myself, and I'm watching him and I'm thinking, there's no way I could sit there and tell half these guys like they need to pick it up. And while he was vocal, he was also another guy who just went out and he played the game the right way, I feel.
Yeah, sure.
He didn't take any shortcuts. He wasn't like a cheap player. He wasn't a dirty player. I mean, he played the game the right way. I mean, I still remember the time where he was pissed off at Joe Thornton because Thornton just kept giving it to him. And finally, he was just like, you know what, screw it. I'll take it in my own hands. And you're like, no, I think he just came back from a concussion, but he was just like, you know what? I'm not going to expect someone else to come and fight my own battles. Like, if I'm going to talk the talk, I better walk the walk. And he did. He dropped him. And I think Thornton was just like kind of shocked that he did it. And it was a decent tilt. I still think, probably Thornton won it, but Toews showed up, and I think that was the big thing, was that he always showed up and he always delivered when it mattered the most. So I would definitely say he's one of the best captains I've seen in all of sports, but it's primarily the NHL for sure.
Absolutely, I agree with you 1,000%. My number two is we're in football now.
Okay,
my number two that I've seen is Drew Brees. I loved Drew Brees when he was with the Saints.
Yeah,
he came over the year before, the year of Katrina, right? So they have to play in Houston. The city's destroyed, but then he took that team on his back, and he became part of the city. Like, he was really an integral part of the recovery of that city. And it's a city that they were the Aints. Fans used to go watch the games with paper bags in their heads. They didn't have a winning season for the first 15 years of the franchise. Right. And then they find themselves in the Super Bowl, and they're a contender under his leadership for 10 years, a decade. And he sets all sorts of records, and he was just led by example. And they had different guys in as their top receivers, their running backs, whether it be Deuce Staley or Reggie Bush or whoever they had in the backfield, and different receivers they had Colston, right? Marquise Colston. Yep. They had different tight ends. But the constant was Drew Brees and his leadership. And they went on a run where they were playoffs every year. They won the Super Bowl. They went to conference finals almost every single year. So I'd say Drew Brees led by example, but it was both on and off the field.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna stick with football, I mean, again, I hate to be the homer here, but Brian Urlacher,
great one,
linebacker. He was another guy who just, again, he played the game the right way. He didn't have, I mean, outside of I think dating Paris Hilton, like he didn't have any other off the field issues. You know, he worked hard. He was like he was the bear during the 2000s. Like he was like when you thought of the Bears, you thought of outside after you thought of the 1988 Bears, or was it 88? 87. 87. 85. Gosh darn it. Good thing
Jim McMahon, the whole thing.
I got the whole. Yep, I got the whole editing power here. No, 85 Bears, yes. But like during late 90s, early 2000s, like you thought outside of the 85 Bears, like then you're thinking Brian Urlacher.
Yeah.
And he was a captain. He was an all pro bowler. I mean, he literally carried that defense that Chicago's always been known for to have. And he was just another guy like I enjoyed. Again, he seemed to be somewhat of a quiet leader. Like, and I just remember just him like getting a couple of interceptions here and there, and the guys are all jacked up, or him making big hits. You know, I could have said Ray Lewis, but Urlacher didn't kill a guy, so we don't have to worry about that, right? Allegedly.
Urlacher also was a big part of that defense that brought a team to the Super Bowl with probably the worst quarterback ever in a Super Bowl. Was it Rex Grossman?
It was Grossman, yeah. It started off I think they started the year with Kyle Orton because Grossman was injured. Yeah, and then you get sat for Rex Grossman, who, my God, if he threw it off his back foot, you knew every time. Interception.
And they had to play Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl. I remember watching that. I remember Prince was the halftime show.
It was one of the best, and
I'm rattling them off right now.
You are like I'm so impressed right now. I mean, it's. But that being said, the best part of that whole entire game though was the opening kickoff where Devin Hester just takes it completely.
It's a good team.
And it was a fun team to watch, except for the offense, because I mean that was the same team that made Denny Green. Yell, if we want to king them, we kinged them, or whatever.
We always they thought they were.
Oh, that's exactly, yeah. See,
we let them off the hook.
Yep. I mean, they made guys that defense, man. That was fun to watch. And
for sure.
That was but all right. So I digress. So you're number 3, then, Coach.
No, then it's got to go. I got to go, Scott Stevens. You knew that was coming.
Captain Crunch.
Scott Stevens didn't really want to come to New Jersey when he came in 91, 92 season. He had been with the Blues, and they were a juggernaut that year. Like that one year he signed that big contract with the Blues. They had Oates, they had Hall, they had all sorts of great talent. But when they got to New Jersey, they had this great young core with Niedermeyer and Brodeur and Bill Guerin and a bunch of great young players. And he brought them through that like introductory, early stages, and they were sustained success for a decade, 3 Stanley Cups. And they said nobody competed harder in practice than Scott Stevens. And, we're talking about guys who, raised their level in big games like Messier we talked about, Drew Brees doing the stuff off the field. But nobody competed harder in practice than Scott Stevens.
Practice. What who was Stevens' primary D partner? Was it? It wasn't Niedermeyer, was it?
It was early on in Niedermeyer's career. It was Niedermeyer, and then they brought in like 2000. Rafalski was a rookie.
Remember that? Okay.
And Niedermeyer and Stevens are both lefties. Back then, no, in the 90s, people at one point, if you look, it wasn't a big deal. Like, no, you had everybody's now got to have 3 and 3 righties, 3 lefties. But if you look on that Stanley Cup championship team, Devils like 95 and those good teams they had like 6 lefty defensemen or like 5 lefty defensemen. It didn't really matter.
One guy was a switch hitter. Yeah. I mean, it was just...
he had a straight stick. He just switched sides. Yeah. But then they brought in Rafalski, and that was his partner because Rafalski, I believe, is a righty. But Rafalski was like a little bit undersized, but had that offensive ability that at that point in Stevens' career that he didn't really have.
I think it was Niedermeyer who was telling the story about how he would purposely at times when he knew Stevens was like kind of inching up, like just chomping at the bit, he'd purposely angle the guy to the middle of the ice because he knew that if he did that and the guy took it,
game over.
Yeah, Stevens would rip his head off. And I was just like, that's awesome. But
if you look at that big Kozlov hit in the finals, Steve, like Niedermeyer takes away the outside. He does steer him to the middle. Kozlov cuts to the middle, and Steven takes both of them out.
Yeah. It's like Captain Crunch.
Sure.
All right. Well, my number 3, I'm going to go with a different sport altogether. And I don't know why, but I've always liked him. I've always respected him. And I think it's, when I think of European soccer, I think of Wayne Rooney. And I think, I know that's right. I know.
Wayne Rooney?
Yeah. I don't know why. I just think the guy's a good captain. Like
I don't know who that is.
Yeah. He was.
I got to Google him.
Manchester United. I mean him, but okay, I'll go with one you're more familiar with.
No, that's fine.
No, I mean I like Rooney, but I also like, I liked it when I hear it in the game when I was playing FIFA. I'd be like Rooney. But Zinedine Zidane was also another phenomenal captain. It's too bad that his career ended the way that it did with the headbutt to the guy's chest. And
I remember that.
Game. Yeah, he was another guy who was, again, like he worked extremely hard, played through a lot of BS. But he wasn't. I mean, again, I guess the running theme for me is I never really was a big rah guy myself.
Yeah.
And I've always respected the guys that would go out and just do their hard work. Maybe that's the Chicago in me. I don't know. Because we had the 75 Bears. Just kidding.
75 Bears probably went 0-16, didn't they?
Oh yeah, no, probably no. We had but I mean that's just kind of how we are, the blue collar out here. But those are always the guys that I respected, and Zidane was actually one of the Like, it's just sad that was what tarnished it, like his reputation, because he was known as as a great football player and soccer player. And I figured, hey, why not go with something different? Because I couldn't think of anybody basketball wise that I was okay with using at this point, right off the top of my head.
Yeah. That Celtic City, have you started to watch that on HBO?
I have not. No. How is it?
I just watched the second episode today, and that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Bill Russell is a great leader. Like that's a good one for basketball. He certainly was like really actively involved with. Actually, like even Red Auerbach. Like they always make the association that Red Auerbach was always recruiting the opposite of everybody else. Like back in the 50s and 60s. African-American players weren't as dominant as they are now, but he was going after those guys, and he was the first guy to play all 5 players, African-American starters, in his starting lineup. And then you get to the 80s, and everybody's like, oh, Boston's a racist city. He's got all these white guys in the lineup. He was like, well, they're the 5 best guys I could find that nobody else was going after, definitely an innovator and really saw through those color lines. So it's an interesting watch. Highly recommend.
Is it so? It's based on the 80s and the 70s Celtics, or is it over the course? Is it going to come to present day?
I think it's going to come to present day. It's a historical perspective. We're right now on the really 50s, 60s, starting into the 70s here right now. And there was a period in the 70s where you had a lot of white guys too, like Havlicek and a couple other guys like that.
Because I did enjoy. I was enjoying the Lakers one that was on HBO Max for a while, but they ended up canceling it halfway through the second season, I believe, which was with Magic Johnson, and it was a little adult oriented.
I love that too. It was with John C. Reilly, right? He was Dr. Bus.
Yes, he was.
That was great.
Yeah, and they for whatever reason they canceled it, but that's why I was trying to think. I was like, oh, maybe Larry Bird. I was like, nah, Larry Bird was kind of a jerk.
Well, Pat Riley, Adrian Brody was really great in that.
He was. I mean, and Pat Riley was also, man, was it Pat Riley? Yeah, if the Chiefs would have won this year, he would have made. You know why he would have made so much money?
No, what was it?
Pat Riley. So back when Miami was trying to go for they got their 2 wins, and I'll end the episode with this. He famously, not branded, but he got the what he didn't invent it. Well, he did invent the term, but he trademarked three-peat.
Really?
And when the Bulls won their first one, he was doing that for the Heat, and because it never worked out, they won two, whatever. But he's every time there's been a three-peat and anyone wants to put it on their shirt because he created it, branded the name, and came up with it, and he gets royalties off of it. So when the Bulls, even though the Bulls knocked out the Heat the one year, he still got money off of them.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that.
And then if they would have won, if the Chiefs would have won the three-peat, they would have had shirts that said, three-peat or whatever this year. So he would have made money off of royalties on that. So yeah, there's your Pat Riley random fact of the year.
I gotta do something like that, Trev. I really gotta develop something like that. So my father-in-law was telling me he sold a boat one time. Like my father-in-law has these, like he's up on the lake here and he has a wooden boat, and he had two of them at one point, like these old classic wooden boats.
Yeah.
And he said, I had the boat in the boathouse, and he sold this one. He's like, I sold it to that guy, and I was like, who's that guy? And he's like, his father invented the shopping cart, and he's just kind of lived off the money from the shopping cart patent. And I was like, I gotta find out the shopping cart.
Yeah.
I really gotta do something like that.
Just one thing, yeah.
Pat Riley. One thing.
The three-peat, and every team that's ever had one. And again, there hasn't been too many, but the Bulls were for sure two. And then he almost got paid again this year if the Chiefs would have won.
Well, I don't feel bad for him because I didn't want the Chiefs to win either.
Well, hopefully before our next episode, maybe we figure something else out and we can split it and we can share it, and we'll create our own three-peat shopping cart.
I think that has to be your start our episode with our brilliant idea.
There you go. Well, I think that's a good time to wrap it up, Coach.
I think so too, Trev.
All right. Well, for the Hockey Toolkit, I am Trevor DiCarlo.
I'm Andrew Trimble.
And we'll catch you on the flippity flip on the other side.